Hey y'all, welcome to Crepe Myrtle Row. My name is Lisa. Today I'm going to share my dining room decorated for fall. I haven't really done much in my kitchen, so I'm not going to really show anything in there. I might pop a picture in at the end of what I did over my microwave or something, but really I didn't do anything else in there. So let's just get started. So on my plate wall, I changed out the red and white plates that were there for my brown ones, my brown transferware. And I have a collection of turkey platters. So I have added those here. And I absolutely love putting these plates on here. And I tried to find some new ones this year, so I added these. And I can't remember if I had those on there last year or not, but these are the ones I normally use. And if I find other brown transferware, I will add it into that. Right now, I'm on the hunt for green transferware because I have blue, I have red, now I have brown. I wouldn't mind having some green ones. And then here are the other two turkey platters. Now I had 2 or 3 other platters that I just didn't have room for, so I may actually try to sell those, don't know. And then over here, I had thrifted this sampler piece, and I just liked it because it was in kind of fall colors. Of course, nothing changed in my miniatures, but here are a lot of my collection of turkeys. I just love those little, the denim days kids with their harvest theme and the turkey there, and I just thought this turkey, I thrifted him I think last year or the year before. I just thought he was so sweet. And then those salt and pepper shakers were my grandmother's, and I love this candy dish. That is a cookie jar that I thrifted last year, but my grandson is tall enough now to reach where I had this sitting, and he likes to pick up things and open things, so I was afraid that would get broke if I left it over there. So moved it here this year, and then I painted that turkey. It's the pecan resin. I used to paint for a shop that sold these, and that was the one I painted for myself. And then we have just 2 big old statues of ceramic turkeys there. Put one of my copper molds out. Y'all, I used to have all of that was copper molds like this. Back when my room was painted green. You can go back and look at some older fall decor and you can see how that is, but I have a couple of them out there because I changed it out, but we'll get over to that in just a minute. And I kind of left some of this in the same way it was, like those bowls and my rolling pins are in the same position they were, you know, all year, but I just changed out a few other pieces. One of my favorite things that I found on Marketplace is it looks like a Bunt pan, but it's a cake cover, so that whole top lifts up to put a cake in. And y'all, there's actually lights up here, but for some reason they quit working. And they're the, you know, the typical like Christmas tree type lights, but they were in fall colors, and I don't know if they just finally stopped working or a fuse blowed or whatever, but it's too difficult to get to where they're plugged in is behind this piece, and they'll just have to stay that way because I'm not moving this thing with it already decorated. And then here, I'll back up and give an overview first. So here is my collection of some of the pestles and butter molds. And then I recently thrifted those little salt and pepper shakers. And then I had that. Last year I actually added fairy lights inside of this chicken and another one down below, but this year I just left them like that. And I always love adding books in my decor. You know, you can add pops of color with just using different books. So I'm always thrifting vintage books, and I have them in all colors to use, you know, throughout the season. And just some more pieces, and this is one of my favorite with all these little tiny vintage spoons. I love that one. And little hors d'oeuvre picks and stuff. And again, there's, like I said, I saw that book and loved the colors for fall, so I added it. And these plates are Alfred Meeking Fair Winds is the pattern, and they come in this color and blue. They used to give them away at grocery stores. You know, you bought so much stuff, I think, and you got points to get free dishes. And my mother-in-law had some blue ones, and that's what started my love of these. Is she gave me a blue one, and she had several that she had gotten, I guess, back in the 70s. And I started hunting more of those. So you've probably seen when I had my blue and white dishes up, I had the blue ones up, and now I have those up. And then there's a vintage tin I recently thrifted. And then the jug with just different little spoons, silver spoons and stuff like that. And then here is one of those cornbread or corn stick, however you want to call it, pans. But this one, instead of being the corn itself, it's like just the husk shapes. So I always thought that was unusual. Got some of my copper pieces mixed in. And these are some vintage church hymnals from the like 1920s, I think. And then there is the cast iron one that's your typical corn kernel parts. And then it's hard to see. Let me see if I can block off. But that picture, I can't get it without the glare in it, but that was just a pretty fall picture that I thrifted. And I believe it's actually from a calendar. Terry Redlin, I think is his name, the artist's name, that had calendars that just looks like his type of work. But it was already framed up, and I forget, I think I might have paid $4 for it. And I just thought it was the perfect fall print. And then we have all of these vintage pieces of the silver serving pieces and the wooden spoons and stuff. I love those. And this is my latest thrift haul. I will share it in the thrift haul again, but I found this chair and absolutely had a fit. Now what normally is right there was a glider rocker that I've had since my kids were born. But I saw this, and this actually folds out. It's a recliner, and I love gingham check, y'all. Anything gingham check, I have a fit over. And I found this for $25. And the arms and down here are a little darker, you know, they need to be cleaned. I have one of those steam cleaners, so I need to get that out and clean it, but I've been too busy sitting in it to take time to clean it and let it dry. But just love that. And y'all, growing up, my mama always kept like the doilies on the back of chairs and stuff, so love doing that. And this was like a stained glass, or it's not really stained glass, it's painted glass, I guess you should say, globe with like fruits and vegetables. And those are the Reader's Digest books. If you can find the vintage ones, they had the prettiest colors on the covers. So that's what I bought there and put those out. And I have some, it's more spring colors, but I just love, you know, because I use my books for decor, and then just turn on them that way where you can actually see those covers. It's really nice. And this was another thrifted find. And this is an original oil painting, and I just thought it was so pretty, especially for the winter months and fall and all that. and it goes perfect with my chair there. Now here is my Bunt pan wall, and if y'all followed me, y'all know I always have them up here, but I normally have very pastel colors like pinks and purples and light blues and all of that. Well, I changed those out during the fall for these other colors. And I did not paint these. These are all the original colors that they were bought in. So I can take these off the wall and use them if I want to. I had those copper molds, so those are the only two copper pieces other than that one I just showed that I kept. But like I said earlier, before I redid this room and painted it white and did the ceiling and floor and all that, this wall was completely covered in copper molds. But I love those colors. Now the other ones will come back out for Christmas time because they're more candy colored, and that's what I use in here, more candy colored things. And I also changed out the curtain here. If y'all remember seeing some of my other room tours, I had the strawberry, it was the gingham check, but it had the strawberries on it. And although I love those curtains, and they will come back out as well, I remembered that I had these, and I thought that goes perfectly with that chair. So love that. And just those, I think that one pan was a light baby blue, so I changed that one out to a dark one, but those stayed the same. And then y'all don't look on my porch, it's a mess out there. And then I just put this was like a pre-made bouquet that you get from Hobby Lobby, and I got it for like 90% off one year. I got two of them, so there's one here and one other place, and that was a recent thrifted piece, and I loved that it kind of comes across as the pinkish red here, but it's more brown in person. And then that's just one of those wax warmers that I thrifted. And then my collection of picnic baskets. And I'll swing around here and let you see the table. Now I found this runner at Kirkland's this year that was 50% off. And I loved it because just the way it is, it makes me think of like your transferware, like the plates and stuff. And the bread bowl, it's not vintage, it's, you know, a reproduction one, but it's perfect for this table because it's long and narrow. And y'all, I just threw this together. I was tired of decorating, and I just started grabbing things and throwing them in here and just saying, you know, what's done is done. I'm finished with this. And I'll turn off the lights in a minute and let you see, but I bought these one year at Dollar General, and they had lights already in, or a light in them that you could turn on, but you had to turn it off and on. And so I just took that light out, which was the bottom there. I popped that piece of plastic out and fed some little fairy lights up in there that had the orange color, and they're on timers. So now, as you can see, that sits down on the timer down there, and so I don't have to worry about turning them off and on every day. They'll just come on, have them set to come on in the afternoon, and then they stay on. I think it's 4 hours, maybe 6, but I think it's 4. And then over here on this shelf, I did the same plates and my little figurines as last year, but I had thrifted these plates, and I loved, because it's the brown transferware with the green in it. There's a little cookie cutter in a turkey shape. I loved adding that. And then I have a thing for sifters, so here's one that is a pumpkin pie recipe, and sometimes I actually sit it down and have a candle in it, but I have another candle holder in my kitchen right now. And I recently thrifted these 3 aprons. Well, I say thrifted, they came from an antiques shop in a local little small town that I go to. And some of my vintage utensils hanging on it. And there's another one of my sifters. And I know I told y'all I was going to do a collections video, and one of the collections would be the sifters. And I still want to do that, but I realized how much work it's going to be into creating that video with all my different collections, because I switch out things throughout the year. So I'm like trying to get pictures of it all throughout the year when I have all the different pieces out. So eventually I will get that out. It might be next year before I do, I don't know. There's another one of my turkey platters. It is an enamelware one. And I loved it. And then that's just some of my vintage cookbooks. And then there was some owls that I painted in the copper paint. And then that is a little wooden one that I thrifted. And here is more of my vintage picnic baskets, which again will be shown when I do a collections video. And then for this little chest, I left the plates up there that I had during the summer, but then I put all the pieces that were down here up and just put my collections of these figurines. I love the Publix Pilgrims and the Little Grumps, and then all of those. My kissing pilgrims there. Love all of that. And then I had some little copper pieces, and then these were just some quilt squares that had not been put together yet, and I just threw those in there. And then here is the top of my bar, which we don't sit at anymore, so I just decorate it. So I just put some of these candles in it, some of my copper pieces here. And this Bunt pan I actually made, or it's a pumpkin. I made it from 2 Bunt pans that I glued together and then just painted up to look like that. And then have all of those pieces. I'll switch around here. I mean, it kind of looks the same from this side. It just has a couple little signs there. And then back behind that piece, because I can see that, is another kissing figurines. They're salt pepper shakers. And that's basically all I have done. I have these that candle, and then those little owls. And like I said, I normally would have that pumpkin sifter over here, but this candle is too tall. It's the taller kind. If you have the shorter ones, it works perfect in that. But I have that one. And the only other thing, I really have my pumpkin butter mold, and then I have a spoon rest here. And then I'll share a picture over on top of my microwave of what I do there. Okay, here is on top of my microwave. I have these faux pie pieces that are actually candles. And this one came from Marshall's this year, so they still have it. This one back here, and that one, it looks like an apple slice. Those came from Target this year. That one came from Cracker Barrel last year, and I don't remember. I think this one might have been a Ross or Marshall's last year. But those 3 are from this year, so you could find those if you were interested in them. And my little kissing squirrels, I guess they're supposed to be. And then I had just an Aunt Jemima bottle there, and then just these little miniature pumpkins and squirrels and stuff up here. And I know it's not really showing up well because it's brighter out there than it is in here, but you can kind of see if I zoom in like that what they say. Like that one says fall and harvest, and these I bought like this, but someone just glued the kids' blocks together and put all that on it. So that is all I have for my fall dining room and a little bit in the kitchen here. I will be sharing my living room later, and I do have a a haul video to share some things, which you will see some of the stuff I pointed out here in that haul video, but I have other things to share. So just keep an eye out for all of those things. And I hope y'all have a very blessed day. Bye.